Mic check 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and there's definitely been an ebb and a flow to video game collecting this year. And while I originally had hoped to get back into collecting for the Switch hardcore, this year's been pretty much been marked by just retro game pickups. And some months have been better than others. There's been a bit of an ebb and a flow, and some months have had more, I guess you would say, more rare or harder to find games, and other months have been marked by just quality games that may not necessarily be rare, but they're good games. And beyond all that, when it comes to the Switch, I have been kind of getting back into my groove for collecting these types of niche Switch games. So I'm going to kind of show you the types of Switch games that I'm collecting and the types of Switch games that I'm going to continue to collect throughout the rest of the year. Just giving you a sample size of what's come in so far. So you have a game like Tiny Thor, which is pretty much an action adventure game, just pretty much a side scroller from Limited Run. This is a pretty cool one that I'm glad finally came in the mail. You have Steel Assault, which also came in yesterday. This was a game that I talked about. This is one that I had in my collection a long time ago. Glad to finally have it back. You have The Messenger, which is a game that I already have in my collection, but this version comes with all of the DLC. This is pretty much a Ninja Gaiden type game, a side-scrolling action platformer. You've got Tevi, which is kind of like a bullet hell side-scroller in a way, a very interesting mashup of genres on this one. This is a game that kind of reminds me of Robbie Ribby, that came out on the PlayStation 4 and the PS Vita. So a very interesting take here. And then you've got a game like Jet Cave, which is pretty much like a 2.5D kind of action platforming game, which is pretty unique and one that, I'm really anxious to get into. I haven't had a chance to dive into it yet. I have played Steel Assault. I've played The Messenger. Have not gotten into Tebi yet. But this lineup of games is kind of where my head is at when it comes to me getting back into Switch collecting. I mean, outside of these games, I've also added some other Switch games so far this year. Games like Ash versus Evil Dead, another pretty cool action side-scrolling game. You have the Karate Kid Street Rumble, which is a decent beat 'em up. A lot of people gave this game a lot of flack, and I've played it, and my thoughts on this game has kind of swayed back and forth. But overall, I think this is a solid beat 'em up. It's not outstanding. There's nothing super amazing about it. It's just a solid beat 'em up. You've obviously got Ys Nordics, which is pretty much just a continuation of some of the same Ys games that we've seen. It feels like Ys has been in pretty much the same pattern since about Ys 8. One of my favorite Ys games is actually Ys Origins for the Switch, so that's one that I would like to get back. I don't know if I'll be able to get that one back. Then you have Celeste, which is another game that I had in my collection a while back. Sold my limited run version, but picked this one back up from Best Buy. And then you have Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle. There's a lot of versions of Attack on Titan 2, Attack on Titan, rather. Obviously, you have Attack on Titan 2, and then there's Attack on Titan 2 Final Battle. And this is the one that comes with all of the DLC. I did have Attack on Titan 2 for the Switch, but I sold that copy, or rather traded it away, and replaced it with this one because this is the complete version of Attack on Titan 2. So these are some of the Switch games that I've picked up. Obviously, you're going to see a lot of 2D platforming games here. There are some 3D action adventure games that you see with like Attack on Titan 2 and Ys Nordics, but for the most part, these are pretty much the genres that I'm going to be diving into for the rest of the year. Just because this is, with the Switch, you can get very carried away. There are a lot of different games that you can try to dive into, and if you're not careful, you'll wind up having thousands of Switch games. I'm really not into that. I really want to be laser focused with what I pick up, and I'm going to continue to focus on action platformers, beat 'em ups, and shoot 'em ups right now, and just kind of go from there. So yeah, so that's what's going on with the Switch. Now, When it comes to retro collecting, you know, so far for the year, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. In the beginning of the year, I did have some success, to be quite honest with you. Picked up games like Shadow of the Ninja on the NES, which was a really cool pickup. Also picked up games like Trauma Center, Under the Knife. You also had Shadow Hearts, and of course, the biggest one of all is probably this copy of Silent Hill 3. And my January and February weren't really as exciting as say March and April, which I'll get into in a second. I felt like in January and February there weren't as many opportunities, which is why I just didn't have as many pickups. But what I did pick up was pretty substantial in terms of just games that I hadn't been able to find. Silent Hill 3 was a trade deal. Shadow Hearts was a GameStop deal. And then Under the Knife 2 was another GameStop deal. I think it was like 27 bucks for this game. So all in all, those were pretty sweet deals. And then Shadow of the Ninja was a GameStop pickup. So this was actually really cool to find. So a little bit of a mix of GameStop and some trades there. But I would have to say that so far, the best month of the year has been March. We're going to get into April, but March has been the best month so far when it comes to retro collecting. March was marked by games like Def Jam, Fight for New York Takeover, Felix the Cat, Metal Storm. I mean, this is kind of pretty much where the month started. Then had some really cool trade deals for a sealed copy of Pandemonium 2. Was able to find a complete box copy of Spider-Man Edge of Time for the PlayStation 3 online. Then you had that day where I walked into GameStop and they had about seven GameCubes and GameCube games rather in amazing condition, and I just was able to clean up on games like Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. I mean, these are just two of the games that I was able to find that day. They also had Mario and Luigi. Mario and Luigi. They had Mario Sunshine. They also had Luigi's Mansion that day, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I mean, they had a ton of really great games. And so March was definitely marked by these two pickups. Also was able to make a trade for Skies of Arcadia Legends on the GameCube. So March was just jam-packed with just a lot of really good stuff. And then ultimately was able to end the month off by picking up a copy of Lunar Silver Star. So that was a really great pickup. Now, I didn't even mention the fact that I also was able to pick up Pop from Mail that month, but you guys are already aware of that. So I felt like March was probably the best month for retro pickups. You know, like I think that there was just a lot of opportunity there, and I don't think people were out and about hunting as rigorously as they are now. Now, April was a solid month, but I gotta be honest, April was a good month just because of all the promotions that were ran during the month of April. Now, in April, I was able to pick up games like Dragon Quest VII and Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks. These were games, amongst others that I'll show you, these were games that I was able to pick up because of GameStop's back-to-back promotions. First, GameStop ran a promotion where they did the 4 under 20 for 40, and then right after that, they did a buy two, get one free promotion. So I pretty much destroyed that promotion. Picking up games like Legend of Zelda and Dragon Quest VII. Also picking up games like Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks Complete, or games like Conquerors Live and Reloaded. So some really solid games, like really solid titles, you know what I mean? Great games to add to the collection for sure. And then you also had games like Punch Out, which just came in the mail yesterday, and Mario Kart Wii. Two amazing Wii games, staple Wii games. If you have a Wii, you gotta have these games. Really good titles. And all of these games were complete and in great condition. And so when it came to just like really solid titles, April was definitely filled with those. But it didn't mean that April didn't have some amazing standout bangers as well, because we do remember Parasite Eve was also picked up this month. We also had Tales of Destiny 2 this month, and then of course the biggest and baddest of them all for the month was this copy of Shining Wisdom, which was a trade deal. And even outside of, these heavier hitting titles, even just being able to find a game like Final Fantasy Origins was really cool as well. So the only game that I honestly didn't get from GameStop was the Shining Wisdom. All of these other games, these PlayStation 1 games, were GameStop pickups that I was able to take advantage of. So thankfully, because of their promotion, I was able to do some damage. Now, May is tomorrow. May is right around the corner, and I don't see any promotions happening anytime soon, which kind of makes me think that it's going to be a dry May, at least for me. I don't see myself, paying market price for certain games that I'm not getting. Like if I'm not getting a deal, I don't really think I'm going to pay market price for most games. And I just, like I said yesterday, there's probably going to be a pause on pickups. The good thing is that I'll probably spend the first week of May just having all of the end of April online pickups trickle in, because those games are just trickling in day over day over day. So those games will trickle in, and we'll see, what we keep out of that bunch. But I'm expecting May to be a dry month. I'm expecting May to be a very quiet month in terms of pickups, just based on, all of the success and luck that we had in April, and the fact that the competition is out in full force. Resellers are out in full force, collectors are out in full force, and they are hunting, believe me. The early bird gets the worm. If you snooze, you lose. And so for anyone who's looking to really do any damage between, I would say, May and August, you really got to be on it, because this is peak game hunting season. So let me know what your strategies are for hunting. Let me know if you've been able to take advantage of like the first trimester of the year, and what your plans are for May. And I'll catch you in the next video. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.